Hello there, Hollows, and welcome to another video on the channel. This is not the kind of video I was hoping to make about Bleak Faith Forsaken. First I'm going to talk about my build up to this game and my thoughts on the game at first, and so I'll go through in chronological order. So first of all, I have been following this game for about a year, maybe even more than that. I watched the pre-release trailers. I thought it looked awesome. I was subscribed to the developers on YouTube, and I kept following all the updates and all that kind of stuff, and I was really looking forward to this game. And when I first played it, I checked some of the other Steam reviews just before I started to really dive deep into the game, just to sort of see other people's opinions on the game at first a little bit, just to sort of see what I could expect, if there was any technical issues, all that kind of stuff. And yes, there was a lot of technical issues with this game, but I thought that's to be expected. The game is developed by just three people, and they've been working on it over the last 4 years. It's built using the Unreal Engine, and therefore it uses some stock Unreal Engine assets that you can find on the Unreal Store. I'm saying that because the developers seem to have got into a bit of trouble, and they've got a bit of stick from the community because there are some animations in the game which are also in Dark Souls and Elden Ring. So at first you're thinking, okay, they've obviously stolen assets from Dark Souls and Elden Ring to try and appeal to the masses, to try and make people feel, okay, they feel a bit comfortable with this game because it feels like home, it feels sort of similar to games they already like. As someone who has dabbled in game development myself, I do understand that if you are a team, if you are very small, a small developer, there are websites online where you can go to download stock assets that people have uploaded to websites for a small cost, or sometimes even for free. And Unreal has one of those stores. It has a store where you can go to and you can download assets that people have uploaded to there, and you can use them in all of your projects. Now, what seems to have happened here, which I do honestly believe them, is that some people uploaded animations that are in Dark Souls and Elden Ring onto the store. On the store, you're supposed to always use and only upload content to the store that is completely, that you've made yourself, and you're giving everyone the permission to use that content. But it looks like people uploaded animations from Dark Souls and Elden Ring to the store without telling people, claiming they were their own, and then this developer downloaded those assets and used them in the game. I honestly believe them. Some people are saying that they think it's lies, and they're just saying it, but realistically, why would they? They made animations for loads of stuff, and if you're a small developer, it's something that you do. You download assets, models, animations, objects and things from the store and use them in your game because it helps cut corners with development, especially if you're a newcomer and you cannot afford to pay loads of people to build assets, original assets for your game. So honestly, I do believe them here. I don't know why some people not believe in them. There's no reason for them to lie about that because they built their own animations for lots of other things. Now I'm going to get into the game proper. I just wanted to clear that up at first because it seems to be a bit of controversy that's sort of happening at the moment with that kind of thing. I also saw when I was on the Steam page, like I said, there's a lot of technical issues with the game. And I did have this at first. It took a while for me to get my controller to work properly with the game. It's a standard PlayStation 5 controller connected to my computer with a cable, a USB cable, that the regular one that you would plug into your PlayStation if you're charging your controller. And I did have some issues getting the controller to work with the game. I had to configure it in some really weird way. I'm not entirely sure, but it just ended up working. So it did take a bit to do that. The performance of the game is not fantastic. I did have to make some. I had to run the game at lower specs than I usually would be able to run a game like that, essentially. And I did find that after playing the game for a couple of hours, my computer was very hot. A lot more hot than usually playing it. I've played Dark Souls 3, Elden Ring on this same computer for extended periods of time, and my computer has not been that hot afterwards. And you could hear the fans going like crazy just after a couple of hours. So that is one other issue that I feel I really should draw to people's attention. The main issue that I have with this game was not really obvious at first. Now, when I started playing the game, I thought, okay, the movement feels a bit strange, but maybe I will be able to get used to it if I keep playing the game for longer. And there's a few things, like, first of all, I was just running with my character and things, and then I just fell off of a ledge. I thought, okay, maybe if I get used to how the game handles, I'll be able to get used to those kind of things. I played the game in total for, I'd say, about 6 or 7 hours, and I did start 2 separate playthroughs. One before I recorded a Let's Play, just on my own, to try and get to grips with the game. And then I started a Let's Play. I'm not sure if I'm going to release it on the channel, because I did get very frustrated. And I might post them as enlisted videos or something like that, so that people can watch my opinions of the game as I was doing them. Because this game has a lot of really awesome things in it, which I will get to, but I'm going to get the negatives out of the way first. And the main negative is what I was getting to there, is the game's feel and the way you move your character. It really reminded me of Dark Souls 2 in that regard, where I feel like the game is actually fantastic. The game is brilliant, but the feel of the game, the way your character moves, and the handling of your character fundamentally destroys the entire experience. Now, since the developers have said they are looking to make some changes to the handling of the character because they understand that it has been a very common criticism of the game. A lot of people have said the game feels floaty, the way your character moves feels floaty. Which, okay, yeah, I understand. It feels like your character sort of is floating about a bit. You don't really have as much control of your character. Like, the most amazing thing about the original Dark Souls, in my opinion, is the feel of the character, and it's something that Hidetaka Miyazaki perfects in all of his games. Even Sekiro, which is a game I don't really like as much, the handling of your character is always fantastic and perfect, and I've never had any issues with the handling of my character in any game created by Hidetaka Miyazaki. The only issue in all of From Software's catalogue has always been Dark Souls 2, where to me the handling of your character in that game felt like it was an issue. And it's one of the things that I've noticed in a lot of Souls-like games. For example, Mortal Shell is another good example of that, where the movement of your character did not feel good enough to really hook you into the game. It felt like things took longer. And I think that's something that this game really has an issue with as well in terms of the combat pacing. Is it feels like it takes your character too long to perform any action, be that queuing up an attack, be that moving, dodging. It always feels like everything takes a lot longer than it should do. And that brings me to another issue, which is controller support. This is, to me, I would say, the biggest factor for all of this, the biggest issue for all of this, is because the developers have said that they built the game with keyboard and mouse support in mind, because they are keyboard and mouse gamers, and they play all of their Souls games or whatever on a keyboard and mouse. Now, this is just unacceptable, unfortunately, because the majority of the Dark Souls fan base, or people that would like this kind of game, people that like Souls-like games, play their games on a controller. It is just the truth. I know there are a lot of people who do play these games on a keyboard and mouse, and fair enough. I can't fault you for liking to play your games the way you like to play them. However, the majority of people do use a controller. So, because this game was built for keyboard and mouse support mainly, someone like me, who always has played all of the Dark Souls games on a controller, will want to play this game on a controller. And that's where the biggest issue starts to happen. This game has an absolutely terrible issue with just not recognizing inputs, which I've never really had in a game before, where I'll be hitting the button to get my character to do an attack, and I'll try and hit it in a certain rhythm so my character performs a combo, and most of the times my character just won't do it. Like, they'll they'll swing once with their weapon and then go back to the stationary position and then swing once. Instead of swinging once and then, because I've pressed a second input on my controller, the character queues up a second attack and starts a combo. That's the biggest issue I had with this game. Additionally, I also feel like there's an issue with the joystick dead zones, or where your character starts to change the direction of their roll from one angle to another. Because there was a lot of times when I was trying to quickly press the button to do a dodge backwards, and my character would instead do it diagonally to the side, and then I would get hit. And this game just has a lot of issues with that, like getting your character to do certain things, getting your character to perform certain actions in a timely fashion. It seems like everything in this game it almost feels like all the characters, or your main character, is stuck in mud, and everyone else isn't stuck in mud. They're just running around like normal, but your character is being pulled down into mud or quicksand. That's what it feels like. And a lot of the time I was saying in my Let's Play, it almost feels like the game's in slow motion because it takes so long to perform actions, and you're pressing the button to try and get your character to do another action, but it won't do it. And it was just so frustrating. It was so unbelievably frustrating. It felt like I was just... But the main issue with this, because I want to move from the negatives now to the positives. The issue with all of this is that the game underneath all of this is fantastic. I honestly think the game is brilliant because the developers clearly understand how to build a Dark Souls world. They just don't understand how to get the gameplay in that world right, because the world and the interconnected level and world design here is fantastic. It's the best I have seen any game not built by From Software do a world. Because just the first area of the game, this is before you even get to the main world, the first area of the game has so many secret areas that connect back to other areas, shortcuts, ladders that kick down to connect to another part of the game, or a ladder that you climb up which takes you back to the starting area. All this kind of stuff I thought was absolutely fantastic. And it was until I got to the first boss fight that I thought, okay, maybe I can live with some of the game's shortcomings because of the fantastic world. Unfortunately, I just don't think the gameplay is strong enough to be able to pull me through that. And I was hoping that it would be able to be, but it just isn't. Because the world is fantastic. Like, there are so many... I even found a couple of shortcuts where I could skip part of the level, which I thought, this is awesome. You can use the vertical geometry of the game to skip an area. So if you jump over this one staircase that's right at the start of the game, you can roll off of a ledge and get to a later part of the level, which would it would allow you to, it would be probably a speedrunner technique if there were ever any speedrunners that wanted to play this game. And I just thought that was awesome, because it really did bring me back to that Dark Souls 1, or maybe From Software, awesome world design, which I absolutely love. It's something that I've only ever seen in Dark Souls 1 and Bloodborne. I've never seen any other game, even a From Software game really, have those kind of awesome things in the game. And I was thinking, this is brilliant. This is exactly what I want in a game. And maybe the developers have actually, and I do honestly believe the developers understand what makes a Dark Souls game great. It's just that they can't get the gameplay right, because the character movement and the fundamentals of moving your character, navigating through the world, feel terrible, to the point where they would need a complete ground up overhaul of the entire character movement, because it is so bad that honestly the first boss fight in this game I absolutely hated. And the funny thing with that is I actually missed the first boss fight, because you can go straight past the first boss. You can just walk past him and carry on exploring the world. You can go past it and then find another area that looks like it's going to be a boss, a shortcut, a secret area, all this kind of stuff. And which I thought was really cool as well. That's really cool, being able to have the first boss, like, you can do it when you want, you can maybe explore this other area first before you take on the boss. You do have to get past that boss to get to the main open world of the game, but it's really cool that you can sort of take your time with it. You can explore other areas first, you can even try and grind a bit and get some extra items and things from some other optional enemies. There's other optional rooms and optional mini-boss that you can do before you even take on the first boss, which is really cool, and I absolutely love that. And additionally, from the very first part where you spawn into the game, you can take about, literally, I think 4 or 5 different paths, different routes through the world to get you to that boss that you need to pass to get to the main open world. So if you can imagine, the game almost has the painted world of Ariamis at the very beginning before you get to the, like, essentially Firelink Shrine, which I really like. I think that's absolutely awesome, except painted world of Ariamis, but with maybe like other optional paths to progress to that level. It's just really cool. And even the shortcuts to take you to other areas, it's all fantastic. And that's what makes this video so heartbreaking, is because I've been following this game for so long, because I thought that they would be the one studio to perhaps get that sweet Dark Souls flavor correct in their Soulslike. And it's really disappointing to me that it's another example of a game which gets a lot of things right, but the fundamentals so wrong. Because I would like to compare this to another game which released just the other day, Wolong Fallen Dynasty, which I've also been playing. And that game is essentially the opposite of this, in that Wolong has, I don't like a lot of aspects of Wolong. I don't like the story, I don't really like the setting, but the gameplay is really good. The gameplay is fantastic, and when you're in a boss fight and you're doing all these things, you've got to try and keep your posture so that you sort of have the correct balance when you're fighting, and then you've got to build up the spirit system and all that kind of stuff. That whole mechanic is awesome, and it feels like they've created their own combat system in that game, which is really satisfying and fun, and an awesome blend of Sekiro-style combat with some Dark Souls things in there. And the gameplay feel, the movement of your character, the leveling system, the equipment, the inventory, and the movement, the navigation through the world, the jumping, the combat, all of that is fantastic in that game. But then it doesn't have the level design, the world design, or the story that makes Dark Souls great. So that game is essentially a flip of this game. I honestly think if you took the world and the level of this game and had an awesome combat and character movement like in Wolong, you would have an absolutely exceptional Souls-like game. But unfortunately, this game just doesn't have that. It's so close to being awesome. And this is probably, it's the only reason why I'm making this video, really, is because it actually kind of hurt a bit playing this game. Because it's just so close to success, but it doesn't get there. And it's very disappointing. Anyway, I think that'll be the end of this video. If you enjoyed this video, then make sure to let me know down below if you've tried this game, or if you'd be interested in playing this game, or if you would like me to do a review similar to this but of Wolong Fallen Dynasty. I'd probably be open to doing that as well. Maybe even a Let's Play that game, because I am kind of enjoying it. Thank you very much to T-Morts, who is my channel member. I really appreciate you joining and being a part of this channel and helping support me to make sure this is more than just a hobby, hopefully, eventually. And make sure, if you also would like to see more videos like this, you can also become a channel member, get shout outs at the end of videos and all sorts of stuff. But yes, if you enjoyed this video, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. If you share this with anything, if it feels good enough. Thank you again for watching. This is Soul Reborn, signing out. Have a good one.